Hey, my name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today we're going to talk about Sir Paul McCartney and the 5 musicians he would choose to be part of his dream band. Well, but first, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave your comment, and tell me what you think about this. And if you want to read the article about this video, you can go to the description and take a look at it. Well, the first person that Paul McCartney chose, I'm gonna tell you right now. This is in an interview. He reviewed this list in an interview with the Brazilian newspaper Estadão back in 2019 when he visited Brazil to play a few shows. And the first one on the list is the drummer, and is Mr. John Bonham. Can you believe that? Can you imagine the Led Zeppelin, the late legendary Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham playing with Paul McCartney? Man, that would have been awesome. And we all know John Bonham, of course. He was one of the greatest drummers of all time, certainly. One of the loudest, for sure. And he was a fundamental part of Led Zeppelin. And that's the main reason why Led Zeppelin decided not to continue without him, because obviously Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and Robert Plant, besides losing a friend, they knew he was a fundamental part of Led Zeppelin's sound, and it wouldn't make sense to go on without him. So that was McCartney's first choice for the drums. And the interesting thing is that a partnership between them already happened. Really happened back in the mid-70s when Bonham played the drums in a song called Beware My Love. That track was part of the 5th studio album by The Wings, which was Paul McCartney's post-Beatles band. It was part of the 1976 album Wings at the Speed of Sound. However, this version with Bonham was only released much later during the as part of the Archive Collection box released in 2014. And it originally in the original album released in 76, Bonham's drum track wasn't part of that song, but now we can hear that drum track, and it's really an interesting song, and it's cool to hear Bonham playing a really different kind of music, because obviously it's not at all like Led Zeppelin, and it's really interesting. You should check it out. Well, we go to the next one on the list. The next person, the next is the keyboardist, and the keyboardist is like, it's an obvious choice for Paul, and it would be Billy Preston. Billy Preston, all the members of this imaginary band McCartney chose, sadly, are already passed away. But it's Billy Preston, and obviously he played with Billy Preston multiple times. Billy Preston was kind of a fifth Beatle, especially on the Beatles' final album, Let It Be, in 1970. He released in 1970, and he was up there in the roof when they were playing those memorable songs from the final album. And Preston worked with the Beatles members afterwards, especially with George Harrison. So he was kind of a 5th Beatle, or a 6th Beatle, if you can call the producer George Martin the 5th Beatle. So, Billy Preston was an obvious choice. The bassist, now it's very interesting. I mean, Paul's the bassist, but he would choose a bassist for the band too. Who would be the late legendary, the Ox, the Thunderfingers, Mr. John Entwistle, the legendary The Who bassist John Entwistle, who sadly passed away in 2002, way young, he passed away sadly too soon. But he's obviously one of the greatest bassists of all time, one of the most influential bassists of all time. Many people say that one of the first bass solos in a song comes from my generation, right? It's such a great bass line on that track that influenced a huge amount of people. You know, he was just fantastic, and obviously Paul had the chance to meet him. They were they had met each other multiple times over the decades, and that's who Paul would like to have as the bassist in this imaginary band. And on guitar, the one that Paul McCartney thinks is the greatest guitarist of all time, his favorite guitarist of all time, which is who is the late legendary Jimi Hendrix, the one from this list that left us too soon. He left us back in at the age of 27, sadly, and he was just a revolutionary. He really caused a revolution in terms of guitar playing, especially. He was also a very underrated singer, in my opinion, and Paul was one of the first people in England, and he said this many times, who had the chance to see Hendrix playing, because Hendrix was American, obviously, but and he was a sideman for many bands, including Little Richard. He was Little Richard's guitarist for a while, and he was a sideman in the United States until he was discovered by the Animals member Chas Chandler, who eventually became his manager. And Chas helped him to form the Jimi Hendrix Experience, which also had Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding, that power trio, that amazing power trio that was formed with Jimi Hendrix. And he took him to the UK, and the Hendrix career really took off in the United Kingdom, really took off in London. That's where he started playing clubs, and Paul McCartney remembers that he was in a club called Bag of Nails, that he was there one night with friends, and it's really interesting. This interview, it's available on YouTube, where he tells a story that he was simply talking with friends, and he heard this big noise of someone plugging a guitar into an amp, and he suddenly listened to all those incredible sounds that Jimi Hendrix could play on the guitar, and he suddenly stopped, and he paid attention, and he said that he saw the entire set just mesmerized, and he played Purple Haze and all those things from the first album, and to virtually nobody in the club. There was no one, because nobody knew who Hendrix was at the time. But as McCartney said, already in the next few days, the place was packed, and everyone in the music business were there to see Hendrix, because it went word to mouth, and everybody knew they had to go and see Hendrix. So Eric Clapton, Pete Townsend, Jeff Beck, everybody went to see him at the time. And it's a really interesting story, and obviously McCartney knew Hendrix. They were friends. Hendrix even paid tribute to the Beatles, performing a cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band 2 days after the album was released. He knew they would be at the audience 2 days after Sgt. Pepper's was released, and he learned the song, and he obviously made it his own way. It turns into his own song, like everything he would play would be Hendrix. And he paid this tribute to the guys from the Beatles, which is a very interesting story. But let's go to the final member of the band. On the vocals, the king of rock and roll, Mr. Elvis Presley, who is another person that McCartney had the chance to see in the early years of the Beatles. They were lucky enough to be able to meet the king, to meet Elvis, and it was a really great but also strange meeting they had with Elvis. There are many stories about that. So that's McCartney's dream band, fantasy band, or if you want to call it like that. If he could form a band dead or alive, it would have Billy Preston, John Bonham, John Entwistle, Jimi Hendrix, and Elvis Presley, and obviously Paul himself, maybe singing too, or playing bass, playing everything. Paul can play any instrument, any of those instruments, and he can really sing well. So imagine that, you know. That's it. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, leave your comment, tell me, you know, which name you would give to this band. Tell me which name this band should have, if you like everyone, if you think it would work. So please don't forget to do all of that. And obviously, this is Rock and Roll Garage. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.